So, like I was saying, tech talks are going to be every month. I will do one at each location, but it will get to the point where I do one specifically for your location for what your needs are. So requests of what you want to go over specifically is always welcome to help me kind of get an idea of what I should be presenting at each location, how in depth I need to be presenting information.
It's great.
We're gonna start with pretty basic information. This slide is, or this presentation is going to be based off of hardware. So it's gonna be all the physical components of electronic devices, your computers, your cell phones, things like that. The structure, like I was saying, is going to be adapted to the needs of what you request, what you need, all the information you need, and then depending on kind of where we go, it might not always be a presentation, maybe something else that we do a hands-on activity, something like that. And then, of course, feedback is always welcome and very much appreciated. So let's get into this. So the first hardware component is going to be your hard drive. That is the memory center of your computer, your phone, your tablet, any electronic device is going to have a hard drive. It just depends on what type of hard drive it has. There's two different kinds. There's a hard disk drive and then a solid state drive. The main differences between the hard disk drive and the solid state drive, if you go to like Best Buy or Walmart or whatever and you kind of look at the fact sheet of your computer or a computer, it'll say HDD or SSD. Those are the differences. That's the hard disk drive or the solid state drive. But hard drives store the information on your computer. Unfortunately, if a hard drive crashes, all your information is lost. So that's what physically stores your pictures, your documents, all of those important memories or important documents. That's the hard drive. The solid state drives are more reliable than a hard disk drive. The main difference is that a hard disk drive is like an old record player. It's a needle reading information off of a disk that spins around, and it spins very, very fast. There's a lot of moving parts that go into a hard disk drive. The cloud is a digital storage. A lot of people have like the Apple iCloud with their iPhone, or if you have Office, the online Office, they have the OneDrive. That's all digital storage in the cloud. Next component is RAM. RAM, it stands for Random Access Memory. It is memory, but it's not the same as a hard drive. It does it a little bit differently. RAM is memory recall. It's kind of the short-term memory of a computer. Those temporary files, like you opening a Word document and then writing something in it and then closing it, it holds that temporarily, and cookies on it, like websites, things like that, searches that you do through Google, all of those are stored in the random access memory. And every time you shut down your computer or restart it, anything like that, it wipes that information. So there's not really a limit to it. It does have the, like 8 gigabytes is standard today, but that's more for the running of the computer than the actual memory recall.
But it is useful if you bring up a document and you work on it, and you decide you don't want to keep the changes, the old one's still there.
Yeah. That also contributes to like Office. So if you have Office is really good about that. So RAM is physically just a short, small, little rectangular chip that slides into your computer. They're even smaller if they're in your phone or your tablet, but it's intended to help with the processing of your electronic device. So a lot of people are like, oh, you need so much RAM. Not entirely, because it's not the sole determination of how fast your computer is. Yes, it has a big part of how fast your computer is, but having a solid state drive is going to increase the speed of your computer, having a good motherboard, things like that. It all ties together to the speed. Today, the standard size is 8 gigabytes though. That's just for basic usage. That's for the Windows 10 operating system. That's for the Mac OS operating system. Those two operating systems have a lot to them, so it needs a little bit more oomph to get them working and running smoothly. Next is a motherboard. Motherboard is going to be the brain of your computer. It's I guess the nervous system would be a better comparison.
CPU.
The CPU is kind of the brain. The motherboard is what connects everything. It's what receives the power that you're receiving from the plug-in, and it distributes it out to your hard drive, to the CPU, to the RAM. All of those individual components are all tied together through the motherboard. The motherboard also is what sends those signals and translates whatever is trying to be done to those parts. So if you're shutting your computer down, it's what receives the signal first to let the parts know, hey, we're shutting down. Which is always a good idea, to shut down your computer on a regular basis, because it helps with refreshing the RAM. It helps with kind of giving it a rest. Everyone needs rest. So letting your computer rest is a good way to just resolve any issues that might pop up. Updates normally prompt when you are shutting it down, or updates that you've had downloaded but not fully installed, completely install when you shut your computer down and restart it. It's just nice to kind of shut it down and let it stop for a little bit, especially with like the hard disk drives, because if they're constantly spinning, that's basically running a record 24/7 and needle scratching on the disk. Yeah, it'll burn out eventually. And motherboards are like a bunch of circuits, so they're really interesting to look at. They have like, there's little tiny soldering points on there. This is where I get super nerdy, but they're kind of the stereotypical like tech item is a motherboard. You see the circuits and the connections and everything. A bunch of pictures, if you look up computer, has a motherboard layout to kind of show the techiness of it.
Everybody needs a mother.
Yep. And then the next component is the CPU, the central processing unit. That is the brain. That is what basically controls the computer. They're tiny little squares that adhere to the actual motherboard, and they're fixed on there. I mean, of course, they can be removed, but most of the time they're on there. And it's what processes that computer language, the ones, the zeros, into actual human language. So It's what translates the computer talk to understanding human talk. It's the one that really is processing all the information that you're writing a document on your computer, or you're saving photos or something like that. It's what takes the photo and spits the ones and zeros and spits out an actual photo.
Does it work?
So, best practices. This is the kind of section I want to kind of focus on. That way you can help the health of your computer, tablet, whatever you have, electronic device, and trying to help you solve some issues, common issues. So like I was saying, shutting down your computer is so important. It'll help refresh the computer. The updates that need to be done will fully install. It's just really important to power it down. But to power it down, you never want to hit the power button and hold it. That's not the way to shut it down. Going through the operating system is going to be the best way to actually shut down your computer. Basically, when you go through the operating system, whichever one you use, Mac or Windows, it's what communicates, your operating system is what communicates to the individual components to let them know that the computer is shutting down. So it's not like cutting a chicken off, or cutting the head off of a chicken and the body just going crazy. It is letting every part and piece know, hey, we're going to shut down, stop spinning the disk, things like that, like, hey, power's gonna cut off from you. So it prepares, because if you completely shut off the power, the hard drive, that disk, stops spinning immediately. So the needle could scratch it, cause issues that way, and that could lead to a hard drive failure. CPUs can actually burn out from just the quick cutoff of power. A lot of different things can happen. So it's always good to shut down your computer through the operating system.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it better to put it, like during the day I'm using it, then getting up, is it better to shut it off each time or put it to sleep?
Shut it down. Because putting it to sleep is like a hibernation mode. It doesn't actually shut power off from going to the components. It just lets them know that they're not actively being used, but it doesn't let them kind of go to sleep in like a shutdown.
I know I'm gonna go back in 2-3 hours.
And you can put it to sleep in that respect. I would just recommend shutting it down, like at night when you go to bed. Shutting it down and then just powering it up in the morning when you're up.
Let it go to sleep if you're gonna be off for, say, 20 minutes doing something else and coming back.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna be for a significant amount of time, you're better off shutting it down because it's not drawing a lot of electricity. Even if going into sleep mode does cut back on your power draw.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is an old mainframer talking.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you're here. And then another best practice is to make sure that you have air circulation to your computer.
Yes. Do not surround your tower of your desktop with crud.
Yes, yeah. So, like desktops.
And don't put it in a drawer. Keep it out in the open.
Yeah. So, like desktops, you want to have them at least some air circulation around them. Some of them have a vent in the bottom or fans in the bottom pushing out, and then fans in the back. I would recommend at least having the fans in the back open. So not pushed up against a wall or something like that, because heat kills computer parts.
Well, my computer that I just got rid of, 14 years old. But I primarily use it for word processing, spreadsheeting, and database management.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's good for a 14-year-old computer.
Well, and I had Office 7 on it.
Oh, okay.
Just come out.
Yeah. Wow, that 14
When
years
I
ago?
the first computer I had on my job had RAM of 16 kilobytes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, does that tell you it was
Yeah. Everything is gigabytes.
I don't
now.
go back to where a bug was an insect that short-circuited a program that you had to wire.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
So,
do know the story of that.
like little things like that, even like dust particles. Dust particles, if they connect two different connections in a motherboard, it could fry the motherboard.
And
So-
I had an old motherboard as a mouse pad.
So yeah, you kind of understand. It's good to have the air circulation. The little minor things can make a
But
world
the
of
funny
difference.
design flaw in my computer was I had my CD slots in the front
Mm.
and my USB slots were on the back above the fan. So if I needed to use a USB slot, I had to turn the tower around.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I did was,
Luckily, most of them have USB
well,
slots.
when I left, I copied the files I wanted to keep, and I deleted all the other files and emptied the wastebasket.
Nice. So another practice is, and this is kind of off the topic of hardware components and maintenance and just overall upkeep of those. Don't click on links. If you're sent an email from an email address that you're not familiar with, don't click on the link. If it's email claiming to be your bank, you can always go to the bank's website and get into your account that way and see if there's a message on your account. But you don't want to actually click on the link in the email.
You don't
if
even
at all.
want to open the email.
Yeah, it's you want to avoid opening emails from locations or from addresses you don't know. But it's hard because people are pretty sneaky and they make it look like a legitimate email, but then at the end they add .co or something that just isn't right. Like there was a Boeing email going around where not Boeing, Boeing Credit Union email going around, and it was BECU, but it was BECU.co. I think it was org or something that sent out the emails.
Good old phishing.
Yeah, totally looked legit, but it wasn't them, and that got a lot of people in some trouble.
That's
So
why-
if you're at all confused, or if you are all like, I don't know, I would just recommend don't do it. And if you do know the person, if they use someone else's name or something like that you know personally, call the person. Double check with the person before you click anything. Just double check, say, hey, did you send me that email with a link that was random? Yeah, I think that's the best do's and don'ts overall. Make sure there's ventilation, power off your computer on a regular basis. You'd be surprised how many issues that fixes, honestly. Just the old tech, did you turn it on or off again? It'll fix a lot.